Hey, welcome back.
Hey,
This smile made me laugh. Welcome back. It's Life After 40 with
life after
Omie
40.
and AD. We are here. We're back.
We are back.
2023 is going.
It's going.
It's
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 going to
going.
always go.
It's going. We've had some good weather. We've had some interesting weather across the country. We've had a lot of events. We've had floods in places where it was drought, and we've had some deaths of some celebrities. Early on this year, some people were very touched by some of these deaths of celebrities. Um, I think Lisa Marie Presley is that the biggest one? That's the biggest celebrity so far this year.
Oh, sure. It's one of the most recent, I'll say.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
I know.
And we fresh in January. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, death came strolling in.
As
You
it
know,
does.
as it does. He took Betty White last day of the year last year. You
The
know, we
irony.
yeah, we were all going into it, and all of a sudden, 3 o'clock we get hit with the news.
Yeah,
Betty's gone.
Betty's gone. We
Yeah.
hey, that's the only thing that's certain. We all have a day.
Look, it's coming.
It's coming.
It's coming. What I cannot
Hmm.
remember. I think it was some Shakespearean play that they say we're born to die.
Okay.
Like the moment we're born, we begin to die.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
our bodies and the physical thing that is death, which is very amazing thing. And I'm glad we decided to tackle this subject at this point in our life.
It's becoming more real.
Well, it is becoming more real as we get into our 40s. That means the elders around us are getting into their depends on when your parents had you. They could be in their mid 50s, or they could be in their 70s or 80s or their 90s. Now we have family members that are getting into their 70s, 80s, and 90s. And not to say that just because that you're creeping upon those numbers, that means that death is around your corner. Like there have been people that have been taking what we assume is way too soon
Right.
in
Yeah.
their life.
Hmm.
And so age is not always the defining characteristic of what
No.
what death uses, but as we get older, that is statistically more likely to happen as you break down. My godmother told my dad, she said, as you get older, she said the challenge is to stay alive. She goes, but you don't think about it because when you're younger, the challenge is to stay alive. She goes, but now, as we're getting our 70s and 80s, she goes, it's a daily challenge just to stay alive. And I never realized that until I started looking and visualizing these people around me. And in my mind, my dad, my mom, my family members, godparents, uncles, and aunts, they still, not that they were young, but the age of them being what I've seen as my grandparents has not really sank in
With you?
with me. Because even though they're grandparents, because to
Okay.
me, you grow up, you're like, we're going to school, and here's your mommy, yay, and then your mommy's mommy is your grandmommy. You're like, dang, grandmommy's old, and so like you think about that, so you don't until you make it up in your mind that you're like, crap, my mom is the age that my grandmother was
Okay.
when
When you thought she was old.
when I thought she was old.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, oh crap. Like that's something that I just think you don't really think about because you live with them every day and you just roll into these things, and then eventually life starts to catch up with them. You know,
Yeah.
health issues start to arise. Um, balance problems start to show up, little things. And these things can show up as early as, like we said, 40s, 50s, 60s. Age doesn't really the defining characteristic, but it did make me realize at some point I need to make sure I am comfortable with death.
Do you get comfortable with it? Are you like okay?
Yeah. So when we were in college, another irony of this show, um, in my room, I was reading this book, and I think that It's not in here. It's in the bedroom, but it's an introduction to Buddhism.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that struck me, well, one of the things, which is a bunch of stuff in that book that struck me is very interesting, and the belief is the belief that death is as big as life.
Okay.
Now, when someone is born, there's this huge celebration. Oh, like we never think about death. It's not a deal, right? And so all of a sudden, worst case scenario, child dies early. Horrible thing. You know, now it's a tragedy for us. Everybody's laying on the floor. People have to go to counseling. They're never going to be able to get over. Like there are some people who literally lose their lives behind uh, death,
A
and
death.
not even of a child, but just a death of a
Just a death.
person. Yeah,
Correct.
like their parents died, and like they lose their life. And the principle is, since we don't consider death as important or as big as we consider life, we don't prepare ourselves for people around us to leave,
To die.
to
Mm.
die.
Yeah.
And so a thing that they were mentioning is you should be prepared for someone to die at the point that they begin living. And you should prepare yourself for that. And it's not that you're going,
That you're wishing it upon
yeah,
them.
good
Yeah.
morning, you're going to die. But
No.
like,
Yeah.
you have to know that that is part of this dance that is life. It's going to be death and it's going to happen. And you should be prepared for it just as much as we are prepared for life to happen. Like, oh, you're miraculously pregnant. We're like, whoa, it just miraculously happens. Like, just like death, miraculously happens. Like, it happens instantaneously, you know. But we're always ready for the good part about it, the life cycle, but not the bad part. And so it's just saying, like, keep in your mind of it is level and it can happen to everybody. And if you're prepared for it, like I know at some point I'm gonna pass. I know at
Mm-hmm.
some point my dogs are gonna die.
Mm-hmm.
We'll use them. We don't want to wish death upon anybody today on
Okay.
the show. Ghost and Sterling, Lord
Poor, bless their souls.
bless they're gonna die. Um, and in reality, having to put a dog down, and actually two dogs in a matter of 3 months, having to put two dogs down, that was another big kick in the face of like, death is real. Like I've seen humans cease to live in a room, and I've seen animals cease to live in a room in my arms. Like, good morning, sunshine. This shit is real. How
Every
are you
living
going to handle?
organism will die.
Yeah. So how are we going to handle this? So you know, that's my monologue about death right quick before we start the show. Like it is something, like I said, recently I've just been like, I've really been just I've been I've
Thinking
been
about it.
I've been confronting the truth. Like, people
Okay.
around me are going to die. Like, we just saw I think it was Crosby that died, the musician that died, I think. And people, I always see this when someone dies, like, oh Lord, well, too soon. It's like, this man was 30 when I was like
One.
6,
Right.
and we're 40 now. So that means he's at least 70 something. So statistically speaking, he's in the range of the upper room, you know?
Well, I think I'm fascinated with, I guess, the Western, which is the only life I know,
Mhm.
way of, I guess, how we view death, like you said. And it's as though we're surprised that it's going to happen. But I don't know sometimes if it's so much that we're surprised that we die, as opposed to how the person dies, which makes, there's levels to that, right?
Yeah.
How and when the person dies kind of makes a determining factor of how much, I'll say, the outside world grieves. Now those closest to that person have their own, their own way of grieving and their own connection. But if somebody's really okay, like Betty White,
Mhm.
you mentioned her, the irony that she died the last day of the year, that's one thing. But nobody in the outside too soon, you don't get that. It's like Betty White lived a great, seemingly from the
Mhm.
outside, lived a great life. So
Mhm.
congratulations, you made it through this level. on to the next. I think the biggest thing with death is, like you mentioned, preparing for it. With every life that's walking,
Mm-hmm.
there is a nine to, well, in a healthy world, 9 to 10 month ish preparation of life
Mm-hmm.
that we see. There's growing. It's so we're preparing. We paint the rooms. We
Yeah.
getting clothes. We getting all this. Where, like you said, we don't prepare the same way for death, although we should. Life insurance, all these other kind of things. But
Mm-hmm.
there's not a. Those are like, I don't think, again, with the mindset of that preparation is not the same, because
Yeah.
you, at least with a preparation of birth, if nobody else, the mother, people around can feel that life coming in as the baby
Mm-hmm.
kicks, as the baby turns. Now, people who have been given a diagnosis, a prognosis of, cancer, for instance, where they're given, a certain time to live, and we've seen people exceed that
Yep.
medical signs, like,
Yep.
but those people, that's a little different. And I'd imagine that preparation, it seems scary. I mean, that's interesting. I don't know how that would go. That's a thought that just to me.
Yeah.
Like what that preparation, if it's more dreadful or if it's kind of calming, because you can't, I guess, depending on what the time space that you're given. But for most of us, we know not the hour nor the day. So it's just like you're either on constant, like, is it today? Is it today?
Yeah.
Or you just living your life, and that's when you have, like, damn, I just talked to him, or I just
Yeah.
talked to her. It's that kind of thing.
And that
So.
is, and we have that, I think, a lot, you know, with people, especially in a violent society right now, where we're like, you know, you see this, you're like, oh damn, I just talked to them last week. Especially right now, where there's a lot of people suffering from mental health issues
Mm-hmm.
or mental health maladies, or just with mental health, period.
Mm-hmm.
And they resort to suicide. Um, the DJ guy that just passed
Mm-hmm.
away recently,
Twitch.
yeah, resorted to suicide. I know people are like, dang, he just was spinning records like 3 hours ago, or talking to me like 20 minutes ago, and here we are, like, and I agree with you. And then I start to think about like some of these older, and now we're talking about Western culture, and then I go to Eastern Egyptian culture,
Okay.
where, and some of these cultures, and I think we talked about this off of air, but how they prepare the body and the elaborate send-offs that they have. Vikings, prepare the body and put it on like a wooden raft with all these
Mm-hmm.
gauze
Mm-hmm.
things, and then they shoot fire arrows at it until it catches on fire, and it just goes off into the ocean burning. Um, Egyptian people make mummies, and put people in tombs, and they believe that, they go into the afterlife, and they have, large chests of money and gold and things that they're to be able to use in the afterlife.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But some of these things, they begin building your pyramid. They gotta start building that when you were born, right? Like, I mean, you look at some of these pyramids, and you like, and you can't tell me that I died and y'all had a funeral service, and
That
the
it was
mortician,
ready.
yeah, they
Yeah,
did
ready to
that.
weep.
Like Golden Gate is good, but they
Yeah,
not that damn
they ain't
good.
that
Like,
good.
they ain't building
Well,
no.
you look, you mentioned the Eastern, the Western. We have our own. I guess every culture has their own traditional way of sending off the dead.
Hmm.
You know, ours here, you mentioned Golden Gate, they got real elaborate, and that kind of thing. But like you said, I was at a funeral,
Hmm.
and like what you mentioned, and the minister talked about, like you said, if you were omnipresent and constantly aware that you're going to die, like everybody at some point will be in the front row, and
Hmm.
everybody at some point will be in the box.
Hmm.
So, if you were constantly truly present and aware of that, how different would you live your life to prepare for that? And like you said, the other thing is, it's so many. Nobody knows what happens truly after death. Nobody's
Hmm.
ever talked to somebody who truly died to be
Right.
like, you know. So it's the fear of it, because as humans we constantly want to know what's next, what's
Yeah,
going to happen,
yeah.
what's, so it's like you say, you prepare all this, then what? You just in the dirt, you just in the box. Is there afterlife? Do you believe in afterlife?
Now my belief,
Okay, here we go.
let's circle back to funerals
Okay.
and the process of funerals. Let's make sure we do that. But my belief, I do believe in reincarnation.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in reincarnation. I believe that there are people who have been on this earth multiple times.
Okay.
I believe there are people who this is their first go round.
Okay.
Um, I believe there are ways to identify these people. Sometimes I believe that a child could have been on this planet more times than their parent has, and the parent could be a first timer. I see sometimes events where parents are freaking out, and it's not like anything's wrong with the kid, but just normal life. Like, the sink is overflowing, and parents are, and the kid is just like, turns the nozzle off. It's like, why are they so cool? Why do they know certain things? Like their vibe is different than their parents. I always feel like if you panic a lot around life situations, just normal situations, you're new here.
You're a first timer.
You're a
Okay.
first timer. You don't know what's going on. If you don't panic around normal situations, you may have been here once or twice before. How do people say, "Oh, you got that old soul, that old energy"? Well, you don't. Energy doesn't just age fast because you're doing drugs in energy land. Like energy, the way like reincarnation works is energy moves to where it needs to go. Me personally, I believe as an angel spirit, that's your energy. God has missions for you. And so, why would he need wonderful people like us to sit up in heaven and just blah, 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 when there's stuff that needs to go on down here? There are people who need saving. There are people who need protecting. There are people who need guiding. There are people who need to be led to his light and his love. Well, you just can't always come down and keep performing a bunch of miracles like you saw in the Bible. But the best way, maybe, is to have someone have an experience. We've probably all experienced something for someone and like, man, that was really good. And I'm glad you were here at this moment to help me through that. I'm a firm believer in that person was sent here. That might have been their whole purpose of being born, was to save you from something because you're going to save somebody else from something down the line, or you're going to change the tide of something that God has in his plan down the line. You are needed here on earth and you might
So
come back.
so do you believe that we come back as our same form and self?
No,
No. Okay.
no, no. I do believe in the reincarnation theory. Like you can fuck up enough and you come back as like an animal or something in a lower spirit realm. Like
Okay.
fuck
Okay.
up enough, you'll be like a dung beetle, you know. But you can do
Oh,
good.
beetle.
You could do good things in an animal state, and then your next life you might be reborn as a human. There are documents, documentaries
Mm-hmm.
of people coming into contact with reincarnated spirits of their family members. And the reason that they would believe this is they would get around someone's newborn child. And not that they do these things on purpose, but you get around someone's newborn child. You might sing a song that your grandmother only sang to you. This child, never hearing this song before, might start singing along with you, or moves to the rhythm all the way like to the words of that song, you know. Or this child has a similar reaction to something that person that you loved had, like
Mm.
jelly beans. They might be like a little kid where you hold jelly beans in front of them, they never seen them before, and they're like, you're like, dang, my uncle used to do that with jelly beans.
Yeah.
And then you might start, being around these people, and they've tracked this, that they've been around these people, and they notice a lot of similarities with
Between
things
the
too.
carnation of
Yeah.
people.
And so they'll be like, this is a reincarnated soul of my grandmother. And you don't just like hold the child up like, circle of life and like it is what it is. That soul doesn't know. Well, the soul might recognize it, but the
But the
human existence
human
of you
doesn't
does not.
recognize it.
So it's not like you can go, man, I've been here 3 times. You just jump out. You're like, what up, pops? Let me get the keys
Yeah,
to that
yeah.
car, nigga. Let's
I'm back.
roll.
Guess who's Bazak?
Yeah, I'm Bizak. Let's get on Jeopardy, nigga. I'm about to win all this money, Chubb. I know everything. I
Yeah.
was there. Like, you don't make that connection. But
Yeah.
I also feel like you have these kids that are amazingly gifted at playing the piano at 4. He just he has never even seen this music. We played it once and he just okay, so that's Beethoven. Like let's just be real. Like it's someone who's had maybe a life before as a musical prodigy that died too soon. Maybe it's Jimi Hendrix. Maybe that's why this kid plays this guitar and it reminds us of Jimi Hendrix. Because there's something about that energy that we knew as Jimi Hendrix is returned here to show somebody else. The play of life around Earth and shit, as far as we know, Earth. We don't know exactly how far God's reach of planets and humans and existence reaches, but as far as we know, it's huge. That's a lot of souls to run around. There's what 5 billion people here. You think all these people just guys like, woo, I'm glad we got all this room in heaven because it's all these people just keep popping out everywhere. We're gonna have to put them somewhere.
We're gonna have to put them somewhere.
Everybody's not bad, so I guess we're gonna have to get some real estate in here. I hope we get some real estate agents to die soon because y'all gonna have to get some apartments in that corner over there because you got a busload coming in next week.
I mean, the possibilities, if you think about it, they're endless. It really just depends on what you believe in, but nobody knows. And so for me, I have theories that shift depending on this or that, because that's all until you get to that point, you don't know.
No, and everybody's right.
So everybody's wrong, everybody's right.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, but death itself is just, and like you said, I think it's one of those taboo things too that you're not really supposed to talk about, or like
in our
not
culture,
necessarily not talk about. It's supposed to scare you.
Yeah. Well, you know what's interesting? Let's bring up that topic too. Dia de los Muertos in Mexico, Day of the Dead. They literally party with skeletons, not real skeletons, but to celebrate their dead family members and like a day of remembrance for them. It was some other country where I saw these people like they're partying like legitimately with the dead person. Like it's there and they're partying with them sitting in a chair, like we're having a good time, and then they're gonna push the chair in the ocean and light it on fire, and there it goes. Like, I think we value the body more than we value the soul. And I think these other cultures see this as the soul is the important part. The body, which is what even in the Bible it says, it is a shell, is just that. It's what we are able to physically see to represent each other. But what we know is when someone dies is gone. And so this is just a representation that we know we're saying goodbye to you as this, and go. But
well, that's deep because, our culture, or in the culture at large, views the physical shell as the be all end all anyway. It doesn't matter what, the soul comes second,
look,
or not even, or down the line.
Golden Gate makes no money burying souls.
Right.
They make money burying bodies.
Well, not only that, most of the time when it comes to who we end up marrying and who we date and that kind of thing, very few people, especially in the beginning, are interested in what the soul got to say. It's all about the physical, the shell, what the shell look like, what is it?
Wow.
And if that shell look like I like it, we willing to put up with a lot more trashy souls.
Yeah. Look, I've had my time, and I've
had
my share of trash. Look, I'm a different soul. I try to save souls. I've even been told like that's your biggest problem. Like you go after the most damaged and hurt souls because you feel like you can help them
You
and
want to
save
fix
them. Yeah.
you yeah you I done told you you can't fix it all.
You know what people say, you can't fix stupid, and sometimes you can't understand stupid. And I'm not saying they
Let
were
it go.
stupid, I'm saying I was stupid, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes when you see a damaged soul, you got to look. I just don't buy damaged goods. Okay, I cannot participate because I'm gonna hurt myself. It's like playing with broken light bulbs. You're gonna get cut every
Oh,
time.
okay. Okay. I
You
ain't
know,
never heard that. Yeah.
and
Don't do that.
yeah, so don't do that. And so, but how do you feel? And if I'm asking, I already have an opinion about it. How
Okay.
do you feel about funerals?
Okay. Let me start back.
Hmm.
I'm not a funeral goer, and I have been blessed enough in my life that it has been almost 25 years
Hmm.
since I've been at a front row or the second or third or fourth or fifth row of a
Hmm.
funeral. I have not lost anyone of significance in my life that way since my dad, which died when I was 12.
Hmm.
So, but because that was such monumental person and death in in my life, it did affect me a lot. So I will say funerals in are you okay? I don't like a sad funeral is like I said. How I want my funeral to be is a celebration.
Yeah.
I want it to be. Hopefully, I have enough time to. I just want people to be excited. I want you to celebrate. I don't want you to view what I look like at death. I want you to remember me in however spirit you remember me. I want it to be a celebration. I want it. I don't want, even though black is my favorite color and I wear it a lot.
Hmm.
I want you to wear. I would like for each person to wear maybe even what I've. If you're coming, especially if you're special to me, wear what I've complimented or what I like to see you in, or inside joke between. Like I want it to just be. I want it to be fun. I want it to
Yeah.
be memorable fun,
Yeah.
and I
See,
don't want to be buried.
yeah. So you prefer your body to be flown into space and shipped into the
No, I
sun?
ain't never been to space. So,
Okay.
no, I don't want it. I don't want it there. I would want it. Um, I would, and like my uncle say, if we real honest, I don't really give a damn because I won't be here.
Yeah, I don't give a damn what you do with it. Ain't like I'm about to be at the funeral. Like, ain't this a bitch?
Ain't this a bitch? I asked for this, and look
Yeah.
what look at this. Look at this shit right here. Look at this shit.
Do, do, do,
No,
do. On the
so,
organ.
but no, I would. My preference would be for my ashes to be scattered somewhere that I've been that I really enjoy. That me and the people that those same people that's gonna wear whatever the hell they want to wear that we've
Hmm.
all been or talked about, and it just be there. But it don't really matter.
Yeah.
But that would be, I guess, ideally because I've seen, like you mentioned before, how death. I don't want my death to be a burden to anybody.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you to feel like you got to get to the cemetery to keep it clean and to visit me and and do those kind of things. I want you to, like I said, I want you to remember me, smile, do something that again brings you joy that in the thought of me, and keep moving and keep moving. But my biggest fear, I will say, my biggest fear in life is that I die before my kids have a memory of how much I love them. That's my biggest fear in life.
I think that's huge. I can say that. And I don't know. I'm not a kid. I mean, yeah, I am. But I know how far my memories go back. And then sometimes they surprise me on occasion. Something will pop up and I'm like, oh damn, I do remember that. So that is good. And that is just very deep. But I do like your funeral plans.
Okay.
Because people, we always make wedding plans, and this is what my baby's room. Like, what do you want your funeral like? People be like, "You're so morbid." It's like,
Look, my
mm,
grandma got her whole funeral written down. what she
Look,
want to wear, songs to be sung, like everything.
yeah, yeah. My mama said she did that, and I told her, "You ain't having no funeral." I said, "If it's up to me. We ain't doing that. Like,
What you gonna do?
all right, just go to the cemetery and
Oh,
bury her,
just
and
like a little
yeah, a
memorial, just for
burial
close
and
friends.
get
Yeah,
out of there." Like,
yeah, yeah.
I look. I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate funerals. I think funerals are the worst thing psychologically for you. Hey,
Mm.
this person died 5 days ago. Guess what you're gonna do? We all about to go sit in a damn church and open up a box of dead person and sit there and sing a song about it for 3 fucking hours while everybody screams and cries. But you know what? This is good closure for you. Motherfucker, I've been over the shit 5 days ago when it happened, and now you're just opening up fresh wounds. Oh well, let's
Oh,
go to this
look,
cemetery now and open the box up again and look at it again and sit by here. Now we're gonna lower it into the ground.
look.
Now it's closure. Like, goddamn, nigga,
Well,
how real
you know
does
what?
death gotta be for it? Nigga,
You
get
know
over
what?
it.
I lied. I lied. Okay. I just remember that I just told y'all a lie. I was on the front row by accident of a funeral. That again, it was someone that I loved. Someone that I loved. They had someone that they loved died,
Mhm.
and it was a small funeral. So they called me to the front, and it's hard to say no to grieving people, you
It
know.
is.
So I walked down, but when I tell you, like right where this camera is, that's where the body was. This was me the whole time. I never looked. I did everything I said.
Yeah.
Oh, like that's not what I want to see. And even my dad's funeral, which I remember very vividly. I don't. You talk about acting a fool. I was the take me with. Now I was a kid,
Mhm.
so y'all got to give me some grace. But I
Yeah.
wanted to go with him. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
But
You're
I
12.
don't. I don't even know if it was that. I don't know if it was like me. I'm not trying to look at dead body. That's just
Mhm.
not. I don't. Let me tell you. I went to a patient's memorial of mine, and I went to pay my respect and on behalf of the company. And I walked into the um, funeral home because
Mhm.
this was for the. Is it a memorial that they call before
Is
the?
it the
What
day
is it called?
before? Awake.
The wake. The wake.
Yeah. I
Wake.
don't know why I call it awake. And
Yeah,
niggas, everybody still
because
dead.
they not wait. Okay,
Yeah.
but we went. I went in, and I get there, and they said, I tell them who I'm here for. They said, all right, this way. I'm expecting to walk into this an open spaced room
Mm-hmm.
that I gotta walk up to the area. As soon as I opened the door, right there, I lost it because I was like, listen, I I just wasn't expecting that image right in my face because it
Yeah.
happened to be in a small room. And so like I said, I go out of my way if I happen to be at a funeral and it's open cat to avoid the body.
Mm-hmm.
And I walk in and it's the first thing I see. I I turned out of there so fast. I didn't know what to do, but I cried and I cried. That's just not how I want anybody. And it's not
Yeah.
for me. It's not a thing of trying to like pretending that it's not existing. I don't want that memory. I want I don't want that
No,
memory.
that's a horrible memory. Like
Yeah.
legitimately, like every funeral that I've been to, either they nail it or they fuck it all up. And it's just the truth. It's the truth. Either they look like the person that you knew or they look like this horrible version before. And you're like, that's not who I remember.
Yeah.
And like I've had uncles pass and my grandmother and my great aunt. And like you say, it's hard to tell grieving people no, but they know I'm like, I'm not trying to go in this funeral. Please. I'm like, I told my mom, I don't want to go into your funeral if I have to have one, if you have to have one. I said, and I've told my sister, I'm not trying to do that. But, you know,
I don't care.
at the end of the day, I just think it's a horrible thing. Like you said, open caskets and to look about. I don't think the body should be there, period.
Yeah.
I think that should have already been taken care of. I've been to some funerals where it wasn't, and it was a lovely memorial service. There was
Yeah.
a slideshow, people made speeches. It might have been at the funeral home where the body was cremated or whatever, but that was it. We left. There was no hearse, the AKA the death mobile,
Yeah.
no cart, none of that stuff. Now there is a few things I'd like to say about funerals. One, my funeral, how I would envision my funeral. This is what I want everybody to do. Number one,
I'm
I
gonna
don't
act the
want to.
fool.
Yeah,
It's too soon.
it's too soon. Jesus, where's the body? Like,
Not Omar.
not him. Ah, he's so young.
So young. I'm gonna
Why?
start you. I know you like the controversy, so I'm gonna start some shit. I'm
Yeah. Now you heard about those other four children up in Memphis, right? He's like, who?
Well, here they are.
Here they are. Those ain't no kids. He's like, those are four Cabbage Patch Kids. He's like, so everybody's supposed to wear a funny T-shirt, like
a funny T-shirt,
fun or funny T-shirt. You cannot come into my funeral dressed like you're going to a funeral.
What you gonna do? Who gonna check me, boo?
I'm gonna haunt the shit out that mug. I'm be in that mug. I'm gonna be watching, waiting for somebody to come in with that.
Okay.
Start knocking stuff over and stuff. Just the organ gonna start playing like the music from the Shining and stuff. Like and then when they walk out the door, it'll stop. And
okay.
I ain't gonna give a shit. I just tell you to do that because I want to do it.
Yeah. No.
And then,
okay.
Yeah, and then I don't want to be. I want to be buried. Have you seen where they bury you in the bottom of a tree?
No.
Yeah, so they bury you in the bottom of a tree and you become compost for this tree. And so you help the tree grow. It's the tree of life. And so I want this tree to be put somewhere, maybe on some property that the family owns or somewhere.
No, I'm about to say okay. So it's a specific tree. I said because they'll come through. Folks they come through and bulldoze down the trees to build these neighborhoods and they don't like trees.
Well, hopefully I'm already decomposed by then because if not, then they're gonna have a situation on their hands.
It's gonna be a situation.
Mm-hmm. But I ain't gonna be there, so who cares? Hey, might be fun.
It ain't your problem.
You know what? That sounds like me. Yeah, let's do it. Yeah, let's bury me on some random spot of land. It might be a neighborhood later on.
Yeah,
fun when they try to. Well, we gotta slow things down. We found a body, but we were gonna build
damn Omar.
The clubhouse. I knew that motherfucker wasn't there. I told you should have worn T-shirts to my funeral. And then after the funeral, I want a party. There's no Earth, Wind, and Fire allowed. You cannot play Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Now why?
Because all these Masonic parties I went to, that's all they played was Earth, Wind, and Fire. And then they play the same song. So I don't want to hear shit about September in my funeral. Okay.
Okay. So do you look the irony? You're gonna die in the month of September. That's gonna be
but you better not play that damn song. Because I'm telling you, as soon as you play it, I'm
So do you have I need you to give me a playlist then. So yeah.
Anything not Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Okay.
Y'all can play whatever y'all want.
Well, because here's the other thing, like you said, I've been like you said, I went to this other funeral, and when I tell you the music and the singing, I don't even know. And so then it brought out a disrespectful side of me because I'm just and I'm waiting because I really didn't know the person at all. I'm just paying my respect for. And I'm looking around and I'm thinking, so nobody gonna say nothing. Y'all just gonna mourn your loved one and let this person ruin this funeral with, the sound was terrible. And what you could hear, it's shebang. It was horrible. Do you hear? Horrible. I felt so. Because I'm a type of person that feels bad for people. I felt so bad for the family. I was like, this is some disrespectful shit right here. Because you just play the tape. Play a tape of September. Just play Earth, Wind, and Fire. Because this is not it.
You say, don't do it. You say, I'm going to walk out the funeral. Now,
I don't want no live vocals unless you can, You know
what else I don't want, and this is the thing I hate the most at funerals, and I think I even tried to mitigate this at someone's funeral. I hate them open remarks. Like anybody want to come? No, sit your ass down. Don't come up here and want to talk about.
I'm talking at your. I'm talking.
Look, you can. You go lead it. you're gonna be the master of ceremony. I'm gonna put it in my thing. You be
Bet.
and so I just think like that is just the most disrespectful thing for people to be like, I just want to say a little something about brother so and so. It's like, who is this nigga? Like,
I don't know, but I remember when he was. Then it's an old story, and
oh yeah,
then somewhere it gets inappropriate, and
mm-hmm,
then it's
mm-hmm,
like your 3 minutes is up.
mm-hmm. Look, you know what? At my grandmother's funeral, was that my grandmother's funeral? I think it was my grandmother's funeral. Um, it's a small country town. My grandmother's an educator.
No.
And we come to find out that my grandmother is like this civil rights activist for teachers in that county back in the day.
Okay.
And she was like huge in
Okay.
getting like all black teachers to be like in white schools. Like, and this was information that like white people were coming and saying in front of us as a family. And we're like, why did she never tell us that she was like this civil rights person for teachers? We didn't know this. And we're asking my mom, like, why you didn't tell us this? She's like, oh, well, I thought y'all knew.
Yeah.
How we going? No, we didn't know, but it was interesting. And then of course, like you said, you have the inappropriate stories that come up there. But I just think that that's just so disrespectful. Like, everybody come to pay, and even then, like, I don't know. We were talking. Why are we even doing the whole funeral thing? Like, I don't even. Why are these people here?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I really like that many people. And even if I did, I'm glad y'all came. I'm glad y'all showed up. There's some fried chicken over there at the church. That's it. Like, y'all don't have to sit down. Don't play no songs. Don't let anybody make any kind of sermon. I don't understand why you do a sermon at a damn funeral.
Well, the sermon is. Listen, I will say, like I said, the last funeral that I went to, memorial, the sermon, it's not a sermon because it was I guess remarks by the eulogy by the pastor,
Preacher
but he
who
wasn't
does
up there
sermon.
all day. He he may have been up there maybe 7 minutes. It
Too long.
wasn't no, for me, because I've been, like you said, I've had a whole like church. I've been at funeral where it's been a whole like Sunday morning service going on. So
Yes.
for me, the 7 minutes, and I got a lot of bullet points. So it's really for the people there celebrating, not celebrating, but for the people there, like, you need to get your shit together because this gonna be you. And if you're not ready, I don't want to come back here as no beetle or whatever,
A
or
dog
a
beetle, yeah.
cockroach.
A
I don't
cockroach,
want to
yeah.
be in that lower vibration energy level. So
Yeah.
as you say, so I need to make sure I'm getting it together. That way I can be elevated to the next energy level
Yeah.
on my next go round.
Yeah.
And I'm not here looking like an amateur, like I don't
Yeah.
already know what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want to be out there. So you got the funeral is the life refresher
That's
for
it.
those that are
That's
still
yeah.
living. Remind you to get your shit together.
Right. Hey, yeah. Yes. Remind you to get your shit together.
Man, look, I feel a lot better about death right now.
Okay.
Because it's coming for us.
It's coming.
There's no running.
No.
I'd race you, but it's still gonna catch us both.
Yeah.
So there's no.
And it really doesn't matter. We do all these things, which, of course, like you mentioned, health things. There are things that we can do to not speed up the process, I feel, but there's nothing that you can do to stop the process.
No, unless you get bit
Or
by a
slow the
vampire.
process down. Your heart, they all it's made to stop at some point.
Yeah.
So
yeah, unless you get bit by a vampire, which Herschel Walker was going to work to find if he became a senator.
Okay.
Yeah. Werewolves too.
Werewolves too.
He was going to take care of that for us.
Yeah. Hey, it's a theory. We said nobody right, nobody wrong.
Right,
That
right,
sounds
right.
real wrong though.
It sounds real wrong. Yeah. And look, either way it goes, it sounds wrong for you. We want to spend my American tax dollars on that.
To figure that shit out.
To figure out if Dracula is real or not. Like, nigga, okay,
we got more pressing issues.
Yeah, this is a lot more hungry people that's worried about that. You talking about Dracula? Like I say, I could care less about him right now. Him or her.
I'll say this for me. Okay, let me ask you this: do we have time?
Yeah, we wrap it up.
Knowing that how death that death is coming, does it affect how you truly live your life or value other people that you care, like that you care about, knowing that, like you said, you could wake up and that person you've been saying, oh, I'm gonna call tomorrow, I'm gonna check on her or whatever, that they might not make it to tomorrow.
Uh, I think it does a little subconsciously.
Mm-hmm.
I think I periodically check on people sometimes, and I reach out to people who are in my phone I haven't reached out to in a while, just to say hey. Um, I also, when people are on Facebook are making it aware that they're feeling down and out, that I DM them and let them know that I'm available to talk to if they want to, message me or, you know, text message me or call me, whatever that is. Like, you know, reach out. I'm there, to help you because life is important. I think it helps me when I get into fearful situations. Um, that I am going to die, and when that is, I don't know. But am I going to let fear control or keep me from something that might be something great? And so, you know, I've had a great life to this point. I really
Mm-hmm.
have.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to realize that as I'm starting to tell more stories about what I've done growing up. Um, but I got to have a great life by not having fear, because I understood that death was coming, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think when I kind of forgot about that, uh, I think that's when fear started taking back over in my life. And I started making decisions differently and I started living differently. And it had its benefits at some points, but I think overall, in the end, it made me fearful of a lot of stuff I shouldn't have been afraid of.
Okay.
Feelings, communication, um, opening up, and then it did cost me in some respects. And so to get back to this point here recently after growth and stuff and communication, talking with people, um, to realize that it is to have no fear is to know that death is coming to me.
Okay.
And you better live it all before it gets there, because I do go to sleep knowing that might be it, you know, this might be the last night, you know. Um, I remember what made this stick out to me in high school. It was death. I remember Kimmon Sanders. We were real close, and I was kind of shy in high school or growing up, and he kind of helped me, get a little more accustomed to being in high school and stuff like that. So we went to church together, but we would talk. You know how we used to talk on the phone and everything. So when he went to, to the hospital and stuff, I think my sister had gone and seen him that day, and then either he called me in the hospital or I called him. And I remember talking to him in the hospital, and I couldn't come up there that night. And I remember talking to him, and he was just telling me how he was feeling. And he was kind of hurt and stuff. And I was like, well, cool. I said, when I get out of school tomorrow, my sister's going to bring me up there. We're going to come to the hospital. We're going to kick it. He's like, bet, it'll be good to see you. I can't wait to see you. Da, 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 da. Went to sleep, right? Get to school the next day. By second period, he was dead.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, damn. And I just talked to him. Like, I still remember that conversation, hearing his
Mm-hmm.
voice in my head.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I told myself that I wouldn't let people go to sleep not knowing how I really feel about them.
Mm-hmm.
If I love you, I'm gonna tell you that I love you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's not worth it to me for another person to die and them not knowing how much I care about them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fear that I have. Somebody that is in my life that I love dying, not knowing that I really did love them. So that's kind of a little death story. That was kind of morbid and sad, but
I mean,
R.I.P. homie.
the topic is death, so I guess it's all morbid. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I hope that answered your question. I'm good at rambling.
No, I mean, you answered it within the ramble, so I got it.
Okay,
I
good.
got it. Yeah, I got it. No, it's good. Yeah. Okay. No, yeah. Being, look, like I said, since my dad's death, I've been very omni aware of
Mhm.
death and how quickly it can be taken from you, and how, how it a death can affect, change your whole trajectory, change everybody around you. The healing, then the responsibility of healing and how that goes and all that kind of stuff. So I've always been aware. I'm getting better. That's part of my new journey. So I'm getting better at, as you said, telling people, not just thinking about it and feeling it internally, but telling them how I
Hmm.
feel as well. And like you said, watching the people that we grew up with, that's now, that were our age when we were young, now, like you said, 20, 30, 40, 50 years older, and that, okay, the seeing them, even their shell getting older, and that, what that psychologically kind of means, as you said. So I've always kind of been aware of it. I've been COVID and seeing the death kind of constantly coming at you, like, and
Hmm.
hearing that did something, and then becoming a parent, um, made me a lot more, just reiterated it as well. But like I said, I try not to, I try not to, I try not to burn any bridges, as my aunt says. Try not to burn any bridges, and that way, when if I find out somebody died, or I guess, like, say, if I died, who knows? But uh, if I found out, somebody died, I don't want to be like, damn, I wish I would have.
Yeah,
You know.
yeah.
So
No, that's a huge one, and I think you know that is a good way to close the show. Is don't let
don't
another
damn you
day.
wish you.
Yeah, don't let it be a damn I wish I would have moment.
Yeah,
Like do it.
do it.
That's how you get over that fear of life. Don't have a bunch of damn I wish you would have moments. Have a
Mm.
bunch of damn I'm glad I did it
Yeah,
moments.
look, live out loud until your final breath.
Hell yeah. And drink liquor and
Okay, drink
oh,
water and tea.
drink,
Okay,
drink water, tea, or
water
whatever
and
makes you
green tea.
happy.
Uh huh.
But either way it goes, have
Either
a
way,
good life,
have a good life. Have a good time.
have a good night,
We'll see you in a minute.
and y'all have fun. We'll catch you later. We love you. Bye.
Bye.